There's a number of different roles for tissue salts. Just to reflect on, some of them play a more dominant role in a structural integrity, some of them play a more dominant role in metabolic activity. From a structural perspective, when we think of structure, we think of things that hold the body upright, that form the shape of the body. So the skeletal structure is a very important tissue here. So we think of bone, teeth, connective tissue. Remember, connective tissue is the tissue that connects everything to each other. So this involves things like tendons, its ligaments, its adipose tissue. Connective tissue can even be blood. Believe it or not, although blood is liquid, it is a type of connective tissue. It connects various organs, various tissues to each other. We also reflect, from a structural perspective, cell membranes. So cell membranes, remember, every single cell in our body has a cell membrane. So when we are failing to provide nutrients to cells, we want to reflect on, are the cell membranes healthy enough to actually transmit or carry these nutrients or absorb these nutrients? So when we look at the salts that correlate to the structural role of tissue salts, these salts are quite fundamental, quite important when we look at any conditions associated with structure, with connective tissue, with bone. So one of these, I'm sure you're familiar with calcium. We all know calcium supplements as a vitamin supplement. We think of things like osteoporosis, which is the common association that we tend to think of calcium with. Phosphates. Now, calcium phosphates as a combination, this is a kind of fundamental building block for skeletal structure. We also think of sulfate and sulfate or sulfur as an element we find in a variety of different proteins. So when we think of our bodies are just big blobs of proteins. So when we think of what proteins make, they make hormones, they make neurotransmitters, they make enzymes, they're structural proteins. So when we start thinking of sulfates, we can start appreciating why they're so valuable from a structural perspective. Then also magnesium. Remember, calcium and magnesium are the kind of two little sibling rivalry elements. They don't like being in the same space at the same time, but these two minerals are vitally important for structural integrity. And again, a number of different types of structural tissues. We also reflect on things like fluoride and silicon. Now, fluoride, many of you probably are aware, fluoride is found in water supplies. They use fluoride in water supplies. They use it in toothpaste. So when we think of fluoride in toothpaste, why do they put it in toothpaste? They put it in toothpaste because it's supposed to help mineralize the teeth. So it's a good way to remember fluoride being very useful for structure, for mineralization. And then lastly, silicon or silica. We'll refer to it as a tissue salt state as being silica, but silicon again is also fundamental to structural integrity. It's very good for hair, skin and nails, and we'll see that a little bit later too. When we look at hair, skin and nails, silica is probably one of the most important tissue salts.